Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube Mile Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mile railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mile Builders, EMAG, and the YouTube Mile Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Thursday night Johnny's Mall Train Talk Show. I hope everybody's doing well. Somebody over here in the panel say something so I can see if the audio's working.
Hi everybody.
Yeah, hey. It's working. Okay. Had me worried there for a second. Let's see who we got over here in the chat room. We got Hillbilly, AJ, John, Jerry joining in. See, we got Robert and Dan and Chris and Jason. Hey, there goes Troy. Another Californian. Welcome to your train layout, Robert.
I flat out ripped it out.
Flat out ripped it out, huh?
Flat out ripped it out. It no longer exists.
Yeah, and your audio just went
I
robotic.
am currently in the design phase of the next one, but I needed to pull everything out so I could.
And Robert's gone. Andy's gonna be a little late tonight, Jerry. The boss made him work over tonight. How you doing, Stu?
How's that, Johnny?
Alrighty.
So I had to take it all out to kind of see how the space was gonna feel out once I started to build a new layout. So I went from an 8x8 table layout to I'm gonna do a shelf layout now.
Uh-oh, here's DeBob in his Hawaiian shirt, it looks like.
Yeah. It's my Florida shirt now.
Got kicked out of the house again, huh?
Yep.
Are you there yet, or?
Yeah, I'm in Orlando right now.
Oh, all right, okay.
Already been out to the venue to take a look and see where it is, and it's kind of small. But we'll see what they do with it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. Hey Ron, how you doing?
Is tomorrow the first day, Bob?
Yes.
Are you down there with James, or are you just?
No, I locked him up in the basement of his house and left him.
Oh. You didn't lock him in with Chris, did you? And all the Athearn guys, or what?
No, they're actually here. So they.
Oh, okay, they escaped.
He did escape. He did text me and going, "Why'd you leave me?" You didn't want to come. No, he couldn't make it this time. He decided not to go to this particular show. He's been traveling a lot already, so he's taking this one off.
Well, you have to look around. I think Curtis is supposed to be there, and Ron's trains and I mean, not Ron, but Tom's trains and things. Get my alphabet right.
Yeah. I do know that Scale Trains is going to be announcing a new something or other tomorrow in N-Scale. So that's first thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my first thing on the agenda.
Yeah, probably another engine.
Not sure. I think the only thing kind of was alluded to was maybe just a different rolling stock item. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, Troy said, I'm planning on ordering an Athearn 22902, a 4884 big boy with DCC and sound. And it looks sweet.
Mm.
Is it, did you say what road number?
22902. No.
That's probably the item number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a number. That's probably mine's 29022, and that's the 4014.
Is that the restored Is that the restored version, or is that the coal burner version?
That's the restored version with tender, oil tender.
Yeah, I think that's going to be in scale too.
Yeah. The 20 might be, could be the coal version, if there's any left. They were completely sold out at the factory when they announced it, that it was released. They had nothing left in stock, it was all shipped out.
Yeah, he said 4014 perhaps.
Yeah.
That's a very popular road number, especially in model form.
Yeah, right now it's the hottest thing out there. You can find every other one, no problem. Plenty in stock. But 4014 is different.
I have 4012 in O scale, and that's the one that's here at Steamtown, Scranton. And then I have the 4014 oil burner on order to have the restored version of 4014 too.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big boy fan, so.
Yeah, me too.
So.
I got 4023 up on the hill there in Omaha, so.
Yeah.
I see that every time I go by that area.
Yeah.
Or every time I look on my YouTube page, or you know, I got plastered all over the place. Seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of a fanboy of the UP. I'm not a big UP fan, but I'm a fanboy of the UP Steam Preservation Program. So, you know, I have the 844. I'll have 4014. I just need 3983 to complete the ensemble there. You know. So.
Yeah, well, I need the Challenger 3985.
Oh, 3985. Sorry, I always think it's a 3.
Yeah, and I need what is it? 838, the 484. That's the parts. That's the parts machine over there in the roundhouse for 844. Yeah. So, Kato made one of those.
Yeah, I kind of like the when you can get stuff like that that's actually still existing and still kind of being restored or still running, or you kind of have some play value to it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much the rules of my railroad. Is like if it ran in Minnesota, Alaska, or Nebraska, or is in a museum, it could be on my railroad.
Yeah, Ron says, wow, big boy in O scale, you could almost ride that bad boy.
35 inches long in scale.
Yeah. Jerry said he bought his with cars, track, for $119.95. Guess you can figure out how long I've had it, never ran. Hi, Ray, and Ron up there in Canada, how you doing? And Eric popped in too, so.
If there's one locomotive I want to see any of the current producers to come out with an in-scale, would be the 9000 class for the Union Pacific. They did run here in Idaho. I found a couple of pictures of a couple of 9000s dragging a train up reverse, just blowing smoke. And I didn't think they came up this far. We don't have a turntable. We didn't have at the time a turntable big enough to turn one of those things. All we had was a Y.
Mm.
We
Wow.
even had the challengers up here. Let's see what happens.
Well, I kind of cut Robert off earlier while he was talking about ripping his layout down. Yeah.
No, you didn't. It's all good.
But, got any ideas of what you're going to do? Round the wall, up and down?
It's gonna end up being.
All right, you're going to have to refresh again,
Yeah,
Robert.
it's gonna be about.
I don't
He's
know
got the
what's
internet
up with.
stuff.
I don't know what's up with Robert tonight.
He was just fine before we came into this room. We were just having a gaggle of a time.
All right, let's try it again.
All right, let's try this one more time.
Yeah, you're still discombobulated.
So,
Yeah, you got about 15
it's gonna be,
seconds.
3 decks. Top.
Wow. Just like that, your internet can go from good to terrible.
Yeah.
The funny thing is he's on his home internet and you're on a hotel internet and you're doing better than he is.
Actually, I'm at a Airbnb hotel.
Oh, okay.
Some guy's house.
Oh,
Well, it was kind of apartment, but
yeah.
just on the other side of the highway from the venue.
Yeah. Yeah,
See, everybody else is
India.
paying $170 per room. I'm paying $50.
Yeah, India and I are kind of liking those Airbnbs. We got one at the Indianapolis show last year. Let's see, Robert said, well, it was worth a shot, so he went back to the YouTube Model Builders room. Eric is asking, how many locomotives is UP planning on restoring? Anybody got an idea?
Well, right now, I think it's just 844. I mean, 4014 is probably the only one that they're planning on restoring right now. I'm not sure. They may be restoring the Challenger next after that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard. They're waiting for Big Boys done, and the 3985 gets a supposed rebuild.
Yeah.
But that's got some major problems, I heard, so we won't know until they decide that.
Yeah. Well, Robert says problems because he's doing some other research online, so killing his internet.
I do know the last time that 3985 did run, it did have a pretty good sized fire underneath it, not including the boiler fire. And that's the reason why it's been in the shop for this long.
Yep.
Hey, Jim, how you
Can't have
doing?
that happening.
There's talks about one, if not two, of the donated Union Pacific locomotives here in Idaho to presumably be not only cosmetically restored, but also physically running. But they do not know where they will eventually run at. The Cascade line here in Idaho is currently not being run. The Thunder Mountain line had ceased all operations on that line going from Emmett up to Cascade due to massive landslides they can not clean up. they don't have the money nor manpower to clean them up, so they physically just shut it down until somebody buys it, unfortunately. And that's the only tourist line we have here in Idaho. The closest one is Sumter Valley or down in Nevada. Both of them down there.
Yeah, Lord just jumped in the chat. What you doing, Ralph? I saw you stick a brush or something in your mouth like a rose in a plate.
Yeah, it's the third hand. Let's just doing some weathering.
Oh, okay.
I guess it's better that way.
Yeah, gondola. Yes.
Yeah,
Looking pretty good.
and that's the inside of it.
Yeah.
The floor.
You're not going to beat the sides up or anything?
I can't get my soldering iron hot enough for this. On a higher side gondola, I would have no problem. But this one here, it's kind of low. So, short of cutting holes into it, no, I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Just rust. That's what I'm doing now on these two pieces. I've added the stain. Now I have to wait for it to dry. 10-15 minutes, and then I take it off with the mineral spirits. It's a mineral-based product. I'm using the MIG products. Actually, the bottle this bottle is AK, not MIG.
Yeah.
Most of my stuff is MIG.
Huh.
But
Ralph, did you ever find that flat car you're looking for?
no. Yeah, that John. That's the other thing I'm working on is that flat car load. Let's just see.
Oh, yeah. How's that coming along?
Well, I'm waiting for the rivet decals to come in so that I can put them on. But let's see, the best way going to be. So right now I have this mounted on a piece of wood.
Okay.
But the fins, this one here, it goes back and forth. These also go down, but I'm going to put like hydraulics on them. It's a submarine, basically.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm putting on. I'm looking for the heavy duty depressed center flat car. And if I can get it with 4 trucks, that's what I really ultimately want. But if I can't get the 4 trucks, I'll go with 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be a unique load.
Now, you want to
so
depress center or?
Depress center so that I don't have to worry about the height that's here.
Yeah.
Because if I put it on a regular flat car, it's not going to make it through my tunnel portals.
Yeah. That's
And
an HO.
this was scaled down from the military guys. They did this in 1/35th scale. So I scaled it down, and that's what it comes out to in HO. And that's roughly about 3 1/4 inches high.
Yeah.
So you scaled that down and you made your own parts, basically?
That's carved wood, yes, and I made my own parts.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he
So
might make a
it's-
mauler someday. Keeps working at
Yeah,
it.
maybe.
It's
Ron
been
in
a while.
Australia said that's looking really good, Ralph.
Thank you.
What kind of wood is that? Balsa wood?
No, actually, it's basswood. I took 2 pieces of basswood and glued them together, and then carved it. So the basswood, I think, was 1/4 inch. So the thick, no, it was actually 3 pieces. So it's 3/4 of an inch thick at its widest point.
Ralph Troy said Shapeways had a 4-truck version and a depressed flat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's one place I didn't look.
Always the last place too.
Yeah.
It comes in, I think, 7 pieces. So there may be spots you can put weight into it. I really didn't look at that model very well. Somebody posted it up on Facebook. But you're wanting die casts. So
Well,
that's why I didn't mention it.
It doesn't have to be die cast. I can drill out this submarine and fill it with lead, you know, to get my weight.
Yeah.
Mr. Ari popped in over at chat. He must be out of town.
I'm going to have to go. After the show, I will go to Shapeways and take a look.
Yeah.
Unless somebody has the link.
I'm looking for you right now.
Oh, cool.
You help me out enough. At least I can do to help you out.
Yeah, I
Yes.
kind of dropped back in the conversation. Stu says some of the rail in this state was destroyed in 1985. It belongs to the state now, and a lot of it's being restored, I guess, from flood. That's over in West Virginia.
I noticed a lot of the hard to get parts and stuff are starting to show up on Shapeways. I seen the DD35B and the DD35A. Somebody did a really good job on that shell, and they also did the underframe for it.
Huh.
And I think he has somebody doing the handrails out of the same way you would for the fine brass. Oh, I can't remember what you call it. It's on the tip of my tongue. But they do it all in laser. Photo etching.
Yeah. Well, I guess we all got a wedding to go to first part of November. Ari's supposed to be getting married.
Where's that going to be?
I don't know. He hasn't sent the invitations out yet. He said he's working on it.
You know where he lives?
No.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Another good man's going to bite the dust.
Yeah, but at least she's willing to work with him.
No, I did not, Jerry.
Wedding.
So while you're down there in Florida, are you going over to Dan's Trains?
Dan's Trains.
Yeah, he's down there. He's somewhere down there in Florida, about the bottom half of Florida, at least.
Yeah, Bob, just jump in the truck there and just start riding. Maybe you'll see a big billboard on the side of the highway that says Dan's Trains in 200 miles.
Yeah, you might see one.
I know the last time I looked on there, he did have the Salt Lake City SD60Ms, the brass ones that Overland Models had.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, wish I could get those.
I met Dan at the Brass Expo he had last year in Chicago. It was an interesting show.
Yeah.
I think I saw 2 or 3 things that were in scale.
I don't think he took a lot with him as far as the in-scale. He doesn't have like what you'd see on eBay or some of the private collections. He's only got maybe 300 pieces. I at the last time I was on there at least, but he's got the majority in your HO and O gauge and all that other good stuff.
Yeah. But, you know, all the vendors were there that had anything in N scale. Was like, no, I don't need to spend $1,000 on that set.
Right. I think Dave just posted the address for that hobby shop. He said Ocala, Florida. So that's going to kind of be back towards the west side of the state from you.
Yeah.
Because where my son and I go in Florida, we're just south of Ocala on the west coast in the Gulf. I know Jay, that's where he has to take his plane to get work done to his Ocala. He'll take it up there because they got a mechanic.
Yeah, I bought my second brass piece. I own a 2680 Chinchito. Came from Japan directly, and I bought it off the late husband's wife, and very nice looking.
I gotta drive right by Dan's place.
What's that?
You're gonna drive right by Dan's place on the way out of here. It's just northwest of here.
Yeah. But my second piece came from Dan's Trains website. It's the Northern Pacific A3 Sunset model with DCC and sound, and I was very pleased with it.
Yeah, but the thing of it is are they going to be open when you leave?
Yeah. Well, I'll be leaving with enough time, I think. Be in the morning when I leave.
Yeah.
I can also visit the Don Garlett's Museum of Drag Racing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's right nearby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we passed by that. I mean, not by the building or anything, but we go through that area on 75.
Yep.
Ralph, I put a link in the chat for you, pal.
Thank you.
Andy.
Who came in? Who let that guy in?
Ask later, Jerry.
Oh, the one thing I was going to ask, Ralph, has anybody used a hot plate to? Okay, they put the model. Say like you've got a short-sided gondola. You put a hot plate on your stove, set it on low, to where you don't melt the model, and put the model on there with like wax paper or something. That way it doesn't stick to the pan. Put it on for like maybe 10 seconds. Maybe it might get the edge soft enough to where you can indent the sides.
No.
Won't work? Okay.
Well, I've done that to flatten tires on a truck model, but I don't think you'd have the same enough control to stop this from going crazy. I'd have to go out and get myself another garage, a flea market buy to test it out.
That would be worth something testing. I would test it if I had confidence.
Why don't you test it, and then you can tell Ralph how it worked out.
I was just
Don't
going to
put it on for 10
suggest
seconds.
that.
I'll probably scream, do not put it on for 10 seconds. Was not short enough.
Well, I did one other one, and I had a different soldering iron at the time. And it turned out pretty good. Yeah, soldering iron. If I can find it, I will show you.
Well, it's Weller 100-watt guns.
No, it was a regular single bar soldering iron. There it is.
A pencil tip soldering iron.
Well, actually, it had a broader tip than a soldered pencil tip.
Yeah, probably had chisel blade. I've
Yeah.
seen some of those.
I thought I had mine right here. I guess I put it up.
There you go.
So that's done with a soldering iron and a 1/2-inch wooden dowel.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's what I've got.
What's the wattage on it?
25.
Not enough.
Oh, well, it's for electronics.
You can put the tip right on the plastic and it'll melt it, but you have to be able to stay away from the side in order to heat it up enough that you can use the wooden dowel, because you don't want to burn your fingers. Use the wooden dowel to bend it.
So basically using it like a, like you would a, heat scouring. You aren't actually putting the heat onto it. You are using the heat from the flame itself.
Not flame.
Melt the
There's no
plastic.
flame from the iron.
Yeah.
Just to melt the plastic enough that you can bend it with the soldering or the wooden dowel. And that's how I got those arches, or the arcs between each rib, to go down off the top rail of the gondola. The inside of that was done with a product called Sophisticated Finishes, Rust. And we were looking, I think it was Curtis was looking for it the other night, and we found it on Amazon for $13 and change on Amazon.com. And if I was to buy it off the Amazon.ca, it's $43. Don't ask me why it's so much different. Maybe it's the chemicals coming across the border. I don't know. But it's a two-part system. You paint on, the first part has metal filings or like real fine powder suspended in this, whatever it is. You paint the inside of it and you let it dry. And then you come back with part B and you wet it all over again with part B, and within seconds you can see it starting to rust. So that's how the inside was done. The only problem with that, after I did it, I had to put it away because I was doing some changes to my layout. So I packed it away, and it was packed away for about a year. And when I finally took it out again, all of the rust that was inside that gondola was like just fuzzy little hairy rust. So I had to go at it with a toothbrush to get it all out, and that's the end result. So if you don't keep an eye on it, or you put too much stuff on and you don't neutralize it when you're finished, it'll keep on rusting. I don't even think it says that on the box that it comes in to neutralize it. You can neutralize it with just water, or even water and baking soda if you want. It's because I think the second part is a very mild acid.
I don't know if is it the same stuff as what Kathy used when she was doing her culverts, or is it completely different?
No, it's different.
Okay.
This stuff was actually meant for clay pots for the garden, so you could make it look like old cast iron. There's another one that has the copper green patina that you get off of copper. You can paint it on. The second part turns it green. There's one other one. I can't remember what it is. But they're not cheap. It was worth the experiment. And in the year that the bottles laid stagnant, not being used, they basically expired because I couldn't get it to work anymore after that. I waited too long.
Yeah, Bill ordered some rusting stuff as 2-part. You painted the base on, and then you painted the rest of it on.
Yep.
After it dried, and it gave a rust effect. He used it on his bridge. It seemed to come out really good. The 3 bridges he had going across.
Yeah, his looked really good. You have to dull coat it afterwards? Or would you dull coat it?
I did, to stop it from working. After I washed it down, I then dried it out and dull coated it.
Yeah, keep moisture off from it. You'll have some ambient moisture no matter what. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, I saw a video last night. If anybody's interested, if you're using cyclinate glue, the super glues,
CA glue, yeah.
You need to cure it real quick. Use baking soda. Sprinkle that on there, and it'll cure it.
Actually,
out.
if you put water on it, it'll solidify it instantly.
Oh well.
Water does?
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot cheaper.
That's how it is. That's how that stuff works. It's moisture that makes it work. If you don't have the moisture in the air, it doesn't stick.
So that's a $7 bottle of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Period.
need to spit on it, don't lick it.
Okay, yeah, don't. Thanks for that, Tim. That'll save us something. I use like I've done a lot of these trees with CA, and boy, you go through a bottle of that accelerator or kicker in no time. So I put it in a little needle and just put a little drop, because all it needs it just barely has to touch it. You know, we spray this whole big bunch of that stuff on every little dot of CA, and all you need is the least little drop of kicker, and it sets it off.
Yeah,
I know.
Steve said he's done the water, and he said it does set the glue real fast.
Well, that would be a good idea too, because I've done it the other way, which is not a natural thing, where you put the kicker on your surface area and then put a drop of CA on it, so it goes off as soon as you put it there. I've done that a couple times, like to the corners of wood walls where I was having a hard time holding them into position. So I'd spray the kicker on first, and then take a toothpick and drop the CA into position. It sets right up. So if water works, you just moisten your surface area, drop the CA.
Just drop a piece of water, or drop of water down your seam. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just watching that last night. It came up. I mean, this guy was using it because he does a lot of carbon fiber, and that's how he filled the cracks in, was with CA. And you put a little CA, sprinkle the baking soda on there to set it real fast, and so you could get filled in and worked out.
I've used that, mixing it with baking soda before I put it on, and it makes like a putty, so that it fills gaps.
Yeah.
And it's sandable after that.
Yeah, and I remember a physics class, probably in high school, best I could recollect, was probably in high school, where we made those bridges. Physics class or something, you'd test the weight, but one of the requirements was to not use the baking soda. So it has a structural improvement element too. So if you're making something that has to be fairly strong.
Yeah. There's that rusting product.
Huh. So is it
Yeah.
easy enough to apply in small areas? So in my case, could I apply it in those small, like the bridge that we've talked about? We've looked at pictures of together. Could I put it in the small spots to give those kind of rust through drop spots?
You could.
Okay.
You could, but I'd experiment first because you may not like the way it looks in little small spots.
Okay. Does it have a thickness to it?
It does.
It about have to.
Yeah, that's the same stuff that Bill used on his bridges.
And his bridges really did end up looking really good. In my case, mine's a unique case. I'm always a unique case, but at least a case of some kind. But the bridges on mine haven't been in place very long, so there's rust there, but it's fairly fresh and along specific spots.
And there's the one for copper, which I can see being used on copper roofs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bill's in the chat, and he said, hey, that is great stuff to rust.
Yeah.
I'd like to see how thick it would be if you did it in spots. But for 13, now 40 bucks, 50 bucks if I was buying it at Canada, I'm not sure I would experiment, but for 13 bucks, it's worth a go.
Well, I got my set from Michael's and it cost me 20 bucks. And that was 5-6 years ago. So I'm sure that the transport laws across the border have changed since then. That's why. I haven't tried to buy it again because I can simulate rust with all the products that I've got. I don't need that anymore.
Yep. I know I'll be happy with the effect of the. I mean, I've done some streaking with the oil products, and I've been.
Well, Andy, you wanted rust on your black bridge.
Yes,
there's a black gondola.
That's the ticket where it kind of has that dry kind of rusty look, which in my case, it's a brighter rust because it's newer, and it'll be.
That's easy to simulate the newer rust.
Absolutely.
Where the hell did it go?
And I've done it a little bit with the oil products, just not enough that I've not done it enough that I'm willing to tear into a bridge that I've got 30, 40 hours in figuring out.
I use this oil paint. That's the color of it. And I make a wash with mineral spirits. And just, you load up your brush, nice thin long brush. You load it up with the mineral wash and you just touch it in the corner and it follows right along all the seams and rivets.
Capillary action's a beautiful thing.
Isn't it?
Especially in your hands.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Actually, that works well. The capillary action works the best when you're using CA and your hands.
Oh.
Or plastic cement, it's good for all that
well,
stuff.
I opened up a brand new bottle of CA glue. Actually, this was the culprit, this bottle here. And there must have been pressure inside, or it was cold when I brought it in the house into the heat, and when I finally cut the top off the needle point, it just squirted right out onto my hand. And it was all, so the first thing I did was separate all my fingers and go and dip them in water so that they don't stick together. What was that line that Lionel used to say? Funny thing happened while I was gluing my finger to my eyelid.
Yeah, he went to Model Railroader. His old story is that he went to Model Railroader, and that was the title he wanted to do. This is the thing I pulled off while I was busy gluing my finger to my eyelid.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go for it. It was too cheap.
Speaking of Model Railroader, I was walking through the train show venue and just happened to be walking by the escalator and I look up and there's Cody Grivno coming down the escalator. So we talked for a little bit. Okay, well, let's see you tomorrow. So I go over to the hotel where the convention's at, and I'm looking at all the little clinics they were having, and I see this one that Cody was doing about Crookston, Minnesota. I'm like, wait a minute, that's where my dad was born, in that general area. I missed the whole thing about this. Oh, I wonder when I'm going to see him again. I said, well, I'll probably see him tomorrow. I go out later to go to a restaurant, and I happen to be looking at the menu. I turn around, there's Cody and David Pop standing right there. There you are. I'm like, and I told him a little story about this whole thing, and well, that's pretty neat. So I said, well, I'm not eating here because the food's too expensive. So I'm going to go off somewhere else. I'm walking around a little bit. I get in my car and I'm leaving. They're on the corner getting ready to cross the street, and I roll down the window. How come I keep bumping into you? You know, you're everywhere. What's the deal? I'm not stalking you. I promise.
Are you at the N-Scale convention?
All right, Scott. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
At the national convention.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sorry,
I wasn't thinking about what the date was.
Yeah.
I really did want to go to it, but with the fine scale show and what's going on next year, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's looking to be kind of a lame, small show this year.
That's what that's everybody I'd heard or read online talking about it was anticipating that. So
yeah, I mean, Digitrax is there, but NCE didn't show up. You know, that's a clue.
Well,
a lot of manufacturers didn't show up.
Wow, you would figure that those couple major players would ever miss one of them, but
right. There was a rumor that Model Railroad Hobbyist wasn't going to be there, but they are now. So, some of the major players are there, but I don't think BLI is here. Probably limited.
Yeah.
I didn't see a stand anyway.
What about Fast Tracks?
I saw a couple track things, but I don't know if it said Fast Tracks on it.
I saw a post that they were doing clinics, but I don't know if they're directly doing the clinics or not. I know I saw that on Facebook this week.
Okay.
Well, they might be there then.
Yeah, it's awfully south for them.
Yeah, it's a ways. But
yeah, but he has a crew of guys that work down in the States. One of the guys, his name is Kevin Marks, and he does a lot of display work for Tim.
I've heard his name before. Maybe in relation to Fast Tracks, or maybe just as a railroader. I'm not sure.
Like Scale Trains isn't bringing their large booth down. They're just going to have tables.
And they're not making any new release announcements, so I guess they probably got their hands full right there anyway.
Yeah, well, they are bringing a new N-Scale release tomorrow. Atherin's got a same setup, just a couple tables. A lot of people just have just tables or a really downsized booth because there really isn't the space for it.
Really?
Walther's even has a small, cramped little space.
Well, I heard that a lot of the manufacturers were disappointed after the Indianapolis show.
Yeah.
I was. I can understand that. I expected it, which I hadn't been to a show in better than a decade. Last one I went to was a significantly bigger and maybe better put on show than what I seen in Indianapolis. I mean, I had a good time with the guys. We had a good time at the show, but
yeah, I mean, the Kansas City one is going to be roughly the same time of the year next year, the 5th through the 12th, the convention of August.
yeah.
But it's central United States, you know.
What's the temperature
around?
What's the temperature like down in Florida right now?
It was 95 today.
Yeah, very hot.
Then it rained and it went down to 78.
But it got
That's
humid.
about what it is right now. So it rained really hard yesterday where I was at.
We'll try back up.
It dropped like 1.5 inches, 2 inches in about 10 minutes when I was here today.
Wow.
It just ill-used.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably exaggerating the number of inches, but at least it felt like an inch.
Welcome
Water
to
in the
Florida.
parking lot.
Yep.
You always get the afternoon showers in Florida. Yeah, and they got a couple of storms out there in the Atlantic too right now. So
I had just gotten in my car and started driving out, and I was going to go over to the hotel parking lot and see if I could find some free parking spaces, which there isn't any. So, also to just start pouring right there, waiting to turn left. They got the longest lights. I think I sat there for about 3 or 4 minutes waiting to turn left. I'm like, what is going on here?
That sounds like the end of my street.
Yeah.
We haven't had a train show here in almost a decade. So we're the last one was the GAT show, and it was compared to the last two, which actually a railroad club had actually put on. Between those two and the GAT show, they were pretty much equal. We had tons of people here. We had people all over the Northwest coming just to the GAT show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty good anymore. I've been to GAT shows too, but not since the 90s.
There was at least, we had a layout up when I was involved in a railroad club. We had our modular layout up. Caldwell Group had their Fremo modular up. They have like 16 modules just on one side. They had theirs up. The high railers had theirs. We had at least 5 at that show. About 6 vendors. 2 of the big manufacturers showed up, and I think there was like 3 or 4 clinics throughout just the one day.
I'm looking forward to the fine scale show because I think the clinics and stuff are going to be they're pretty high end stuff.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, that's going to be a good show.
yeah, Ralph's showing off the bed of the gondola with it installed.
Yeah, the fact that he could make, I had to go to the trouble of putting, I made a wood one up with American Bodybuilders laser cut. I think it's American Bodybuilders laser cut kit. And his plastic looks as good as the wood I've worked on, probably better. I need to do some more work on the wood. The wood looks good, but if you get plastic look good, you can't tell the difference.
You can make the wood look good too.
Oh yeah, and I'm happy with the wood even as it is. I just need to do more work on it. It's a good start. What I got so far.
One thing I've always wanted to try is actually trying to do a metal corrugated bottom and just weather the crap out of it.
A corrugated?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a steel bottom, like some of those steel bottom gondolas.
Yeah, it's all about era. My era is, there's a lot of wood. I haven't completed this because this may end up just being a good domestic test bed for after I've done some stuff on the cheap cars. I did that's the wood insert, which the camera don't really do it justice because it
Yeah.
When we put it at an eagle, we can pretty good see it.
Yeah, but the camera makes it look splotchy, and it doesn't look like the way in person. I need to do more work on it. But these, I love these wood insets. They're, these, they got nail holes, bolt holes and lines that look really good. What I did my flatcar, American Bodybuilders, and I hadn't been back in this very long when I did that.
It's probably hiding over behind a tree.
That's the consequence of a fairly tall layout.
Another thing I want to try with some of my HO scale stuff, which I'll probably be liquidating soon, is trying using Snacrolite and making it look like weld beads down the bottom of a steel gondola.
Well, there's that company that makes the decals. We were just talking about them the other day. I'll think of it here in a second. Ralph's talking about getting stuff from them. I'm going to get some of their rivet detail, but that's what was just flat wood. I stayed the bolt lines that go down the center more, and that is just idiot. On the other one that I did, I've got a lot of the AIM powders turned into or liquefied into a paste, but that's just India. I left a couple boards fresh, make it look like, you know, like they're new. I didn't do much damage to it. Like I said, I hadn't been back to the hobby very long, and had to relearn stuff I had lost or never knew how to do, possibly. But on this other one, I've damaged the ends of it, you know, like they split some of that stuff. That's the place where wood excels. When it comes to weathering and coloration, I don't know that there's a distinct advantage. Actually, plastic may be easier. But when it comes to being able to take a wire brush to them or an X-Acto and split them and damage them and stuff, wood does excel for that, I think.
Yeah.
So, Dan.
Yeah.
There's your weld marks done with CA glue.
I'll have to increase the size on my side.
With CA?
CA glue.
You just paint over it. Okay.
Okay.
I just took a piece of telephone wire and
Yeah.
I bent a flat edge to it so that it was about a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch long, and used that. I dipped it into the CA glue and then transferred it onto the car floor.
That's amazing.
And like I said, it would have that natural kind of bumpiness to it that a fast weld job or a large weld job would have.
Well, I did it a couple of times, so you get an unevenness that way.
Sure.
That's a really good job, though.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know if I would have thought of CA for it. Who was that company we were talking about that makes those decals?
Archer.
Yeah, now I don't know about for their weld lines. I think you got it with CA, but for the rivet detail, I think that may be one of the few. Or
Well, you can do it the same way if you want. You just need a large enough point that'll pick up a small enough drop of the CA, and it's better to use the gap filling one, the gel.
Yep.
Because then it stays like a bead. It doesn't go flat.
Sure.
But that's what the sort of thing I use to put it down. If you can see that in the bed of the gondola.
Yeah.
And you talked about galvanized.
I was thinking like aluminum sheet, just putting on the bottom of it.
I don't know how well this is going to show, but that's a plastic model. That's a plastic model.
Yeah.
If anybody knows the pickle factory, that's what it is. The hell's my camera going in and out for?
The parts,
It's trying to focus
too
on.
close. It's too close to the camera.
It's too close. Interesting.
I think there's like two spots on that building. It's trying to focus on. It's fighting against both spots.
How's that? There we go.
That did it.
And what I used was a piece of acetate, and I cut it the size of, yeah, there goes the shaky finger again. I cut it the size of what a galvanized sheet, a corrugated sheet would be, and when I laid it down on here, I just with my sponge, my makeup sponge, and what do you call it? Gouaches. You just dab it on, and you can do 2 panels at a time, and you don't have to worry about it won't go underneath because you're doing it with the sponge on top. If it was a paintbrush, it would seep underneath, and then you just move over one and move over one and move over one, and you just keep going like that.
It's one way of doing it.
And if you have something like that where it's all formed in one piece, maybe the best or only way. Where when I built that building we did on the first couple shows of the Fine Steel show, I took the sheet from finishers and scale or whatever, and cut them into small bitty sheets, and then weathered them with blackened them with an etchant. So, but that's tedious. And for building a small roof, that's no problem. But I need to build a coal loadout that's, 14 to 16 inches wide, and almost 2 foot deep, and 5, 6 stories tall. That that's going to take a while.
So how many trees does that make for you, Andy? How many more left after that one?
Oh,
about 6,000.
Yeah, well, I make most of my trees not. These are just extreme foreground trees. I am either right at 60, if not 1 or 2. I'm like 58 or 60. Yeah. These kind of, these look like, these big fine trees that look like that. Which this is not Venus. This is just rough in.
Ralph, don't forget about the 1,000 that he promised us each either.
Oh, yeah, gosh. I know.
By the time he's done with your guys' orders, he won't have enough time left to run his own layout.
I even said, just send me the sagebrush because I can't get it up here. Or whatever it is he's using.
Yeah, sagebrush.
You just gotta find somebody that's got it. What the best thing to do for any of us is get us a buddy in California for the trouble of getting it, because it's, from what I understand, it's legal if it's already dead, dried, loose. If you pick it, there's a legal issue about a conservation issue. And what we want is dead, dry. I've got a bunch of it, and I've been starting to work on these little small ones. Even these are still based on sagebrush with just pieces glued to them, of course not painted or anything, for going right at the front edge of the layout. So where I needed some smaller ones done. Normally smaller trees, especially toward the back, all my back trees are all just super tree, but I make these big bad boys just right at the front edge. And on the other side of the tracks, I'll do something there like this. And the difference in a 14-inch tree and an 8-inch tree, a 14-inch tree takes twice the time. It's twice as much, if not more, material.
Hey, Ralph.
8-inch tree.
Yep.
Seems like you and Big Bill are twins. Not look-alikes, but Big Bill said that he has the exact same T-shirt.
Oh, yeah? The one more year? All right.
We have a sagebrush. I have yet to find it anywhere else except for this one town along the right-of-way of Union Pacific. If you do it just right, you can make it look like a cherry tree, an elm tree, just about any big, huge volume tree you can think of, you can create out of just this one type of sagebrush. It just looks amazing. It looks like sedum, but it isn't. Sedum has a top level. It's got all their blooms on the top. This sagebrush has the blooms. It's like I can't really describe it, but it's got more volume going over the sides than it does the top. And if you get some of the right ones, you can actually use them as background, because sometimes you don't have that volume on one side.
Well, I've taken several of the sedums, put them together, taped them up, especially for making. I don't use sedum foreground. Some people do, but they don't look like the trees in my area. This sagebrush I got varies greatly, though. I get these that are straight up and down, like, you know, birch might be, or poplar would be. Or then you get these that look like, you know, I don't know, like an elm tree, possibly. Like
Yeah, that's pretty much what that looks like.
That looks like broccoli.
It went
Some
by.
species of oak look like that too.
a lot of work for it to look like. And these little bitty trees like these, I mean, they vary a bit, and you can color them too. I mean, I've tried a few different ways, and I use a lot of spray paints. Like I saw with Ralph the other day, he's hit it with that other color a little bit. All right, you know, so spray it from a distance, kind of mist some lighter browns into it. But I've also done some oil washes, like a white oil wash, to give that birch has that light gray bark. I've darkened a lot of them. You know, like a black oak has a color to it. And most of my trees that are on the other side of the tracks are roughly this size. These aren't bad. These don't take too long.
So my next question then, Andy, is since you're going through all of this, what have you done to make the tree trunk or the armature look like bark?
On the sagebrush?
Especially on your foreground trees.
You don't think the
I
sage
can
like a bark? It has a lot of texture to it. Well, I mean, other color.
If you're gonna stimulate elm and oak and so on, they're all gonna have a different type of bark.
They are. That's true.
And being as particular as you are, I'm surprised you haven't worked on that.
I've got to do
Oh,
more.
Ralph, we're trying to keep that away from him.
I still have to do more work to it, with more diversity to it, but I'm, you know, learning as I go along too. And I really haven't found a lot of information online. You know, apparently everybody else who's as crazy as I am has already been assigned a straitjacket at this point. So there's not been a whole lot of information shared about, you know, like Super Tree sells super sage, you know, the sagebrush that they sell, which is fine. It's just sagebrush. It's expensive. You know, like 5 trees worth of it are about 25 or 30 bucks for 5, you know, pieces. And their idea of a piece is about 8 inches tall, whereas, you know, I wanted some trees, man.
Oh, we talked about this in the fine scale build, Miles and yourself and myself. The manufacturers have steered the modelers to this size of tree,
Yeah.
instead of actually doing it the size it's supposed to be. It should dwarf this like a house if it's a full grown tree, especially if it's an oak or an elm or a maple tree. They're huge.
Or a hickory.
Yeah.
Oh, hickory, that's a good one. I need to get some more pictures of that. Yeah, my goal is to, I mean, it depends on what you're modeling. You know, if you're modeling, you know, they should look like, you know, there's houses. Those trees are big.
Yeah.
And that's what you
Woods could be 80.
Check the chat, Ralph.
And you get these kind of cool views. You know, you're standing at the bridge, watch trades from that great distance back there. That's 6 feet back to where it disappears. There's a turn. You got this view through the, you know, where's my bridge I got to work on. And you get the view through the cut. And you're standing at one spot on a layout that's 2 foot deep, and you've got a 6 foot deep view and a, you know, 6 or 7 foot deep view that way. So narrow don't mean anything. You could have a, you know, a foot wide shelf, a 2 foot wide shelf, and if you'll control your viewing angles, You can have every bit of depth and
Yeah, but then you profess to be a rivet counter.
I don't profess to. I'm just willing to accept the disclaimer you guys give me about it.
Yeah, Stu had a comment. He said he has a 150-year-old evergreen tree next to his house, and yes, it dwarfs the house.
Absolutely. People give me a hard time about mine sometimes. Regular chat saying that's just trees shouldn't be that big, but I've measured them. You know, that biggest green tree is beside the river. I pointed out a minute ago. That's 14 inches tall. You know, that's
You're right. You're right, Stu.
Yeah, trees don't have rivets.
That's my boy looking out for me. Get him.
Yeah, but it does have bark, so yeah. I mean,
It does.
Don't stick your hand too close to it. It might bite.
What my hope is that I get better.
It's a good one.
You know, my first trees were awful. I started trying to make them out of roots. I'd seen some YouTube videos doing it with root or whatever, with root, and they were awful. And I was kind of proud of them at the time. And I look back on them now; they were horrible. They're a lot, but I don't like the woodland scenics arbiters.
no.
There's plenty of woodland scenics products that are great, but their tree arbiters are just—they've destroyed. But they've given modelers an expectation of something that just is not a good tree.
So my question for you is do you have an environmental permit to work on that tree? Because it could be a bat. It could have a bat restriction.
So, are you going to turn me in, or are you calling me Batty, or both?
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm not. Why I can't answer that question at this time.
Well, he still has most of his hairs on top of his head, so we can't exactly call him batty or insane.
And that don't stop these guys from trying to call me insane. So,
Oh, he's insane, but he's a good insane.
That's the better side of it.
Yeah, but
He was a little puppy.
Well, I still got a long way to go.
Pretty bird.
But I still got a long way to go to improve this. It's like my 6th or 7th method that I've worked through. I've got trees where I took super trees and glued several of them together, cut them, and, so that they were basically tree flats. Pushed 3 of them together, spotted them, spot glued them with CA, then put wood putty up the trunk, and then scraped it with a brush and with the back of an X-Acto and painted them. And I was happy as I could be with those, and they make, okay sized trees. They make very good second tier trees, like just on the other side of the tracks, which is just as important as the foreground trees. You don't want a big beautiful sage tree on the front. The tracks right on the other side of the tracks just have regular super trees. I didn't realize that until I started getting that put in, and the disparity between the two is just too much.
Yeah,
well, maybe you can.
Stu just put a comment up here. He said, I'm a horticulturist, and I believe he is accord with the laws at this point. I'm watching.
That's good stuff.
we got your number.
So Andy, after the show, I want to see your permit. Okay.
I'll do that.
Me and Robert talked about this one time on our little hangout thing, that we have a particular conifer here that actually shed its needles. It's called a tamarack. It's the only known species to shed its needles. But I also found out we, as a state, had the only grove up here in the Northwest of sequoias. Sequoias are known for being a Pacific Coast tree, but we had them here in Idaho. We just ended up having to move one of our 100-year-old sequoias away from a hospital because they were getting ready to use that land. We don't know if it's going to survive because it was really in bad shape. It's been all over the national news about it too.
How big a tree after 100 years? Because the big sequoias are thousands.
They're
of years.
huge.
Right. Oh, they're ugly. They're impressive.
Do they move it one of those trucks that comes in and goes underneath of it and then picks it
It's
up
all
and
right.
and it takes everything and it lays it down on. It's like a big crane almost.
Yeah.
But they use it and they come in with these big shears and they just go underneath of it and they pick it up and then they lay it down flat.
Yeah,
So they
Yeah,
dig
that's-
fruit out in a big root ball, it's the size of a truck.
Well,
And pack a
here,
brand into it or something.
here's the thing about sequoias: they do not have a tap root.
No, they
They're
grow
all
along the
surface,
surface
yeah.
or just
They're
under
all-
the surface.
Yeah, it's the same way. I think it's tamaracks are the same way. They're all surface roots.
Yeah, Dan.
Most evergreens are like that.
That's one thing I haven't figured out how to model very, very well is surface root effect. I've got some trials with it using, Phil's wire trees, which are awesome. He really did a good job with those. And I've got one that way to work on some root with. And I've got some of the roots that I, scavenged that I started making those awful trees with. And I thought about just taking some of those and, working them out. Because I have done, in our creek basin where the water cut away, I've got some roots kind of hanging there. That's okay. I'm just trying to figure out how to merge it into the bark.
Yeah, Stu said, Dan, the common name for that tree is Don Redwood.
Don Redwood.
Yeah, that one that sheds.
Well, we've got. Well, I think there's several names for them, but when I was on this one tour, they were called tamaracks because there was a lumber company up in Tamarack that were actually harvesting these trees.
Yeah. But anyway, Stu also said that those trucks are a tree spade or a tree shovel lifter, and that the surface roots are hard too on those trees.
Yeah.
Well, they'd have to be. I mean, if they hold a hundreds of foot tree up for thousands of years that are like those. I mean, an oak tree, these big trees in my area that are 120, 30 feet tall, they got a root system that goes back under 2 houses in each direction.
But if you look at the root system on a coniferous tree, it has basically the same shape as the tree above ground.
Oh yeah, okay. Huh.
But there are exceptions to the rule.
Stu said that was the let's see, what was it? That was the proper name for that tree.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the sequoia here that they were transplanting is rough. They're guessing at this point because I think they knocked the tip off of it while they were moving it, but they were guessing it was 150 foot plus tree.
Well, I mean, like redwood trees are what, 500 feet, 300 or 400 feet anyway. I mean, they're.
Yep.
I mean, I'd love to. I've seen a few people do narrow gauge modeling, especially, not that this matters, but model that, like West Side Lumber or something in California, and they'll model just half of a tree, let it go up behind the valance above, and you're just modeling the base of it because you couldn't model the whole thing. You'd be talking about an 8 foot tall tree in HO, especially like O3 or something.
You've seen this before, Andy?
It'll be
Absolutely.
16 foot, right?
That's going to be my some sort of fir tree.
How wide is that base?
That's a broom handle.
Roughly. Okay.
It's a wooden broom handle that I shaved and split and got all uneven finish on it.
And you said it was 16 inches tall?
This one?
Something like
I'll
that.
tell you in a second.
Well,
Maybe 3 seconds.
yeah, I mean, if you think about, Chris, you're talking about height of that, if you're thinking like an HO scale, an 87 foot tall tree is a foot tall. So if you needed 87, 160, if you needed a 300 foot tree, you're talking about a 4 foot tree in HO scale. 4
Right.
foot.
So double that is 8 foot. No.
Yes. And that's not exceptionally large by redwood standards. You could easily, it's just not possible to model a whole tree. So if you were modeling California, you just have to do that effect, which I love. where the entire scene is trees. You have no skylight or anything. Your valance to, you know, your shadow box is just the bottom of trees.
The only way you can successfully model a grove of redwoods or sequoias is if you do it all in N-scale. That
Even
is the
this,
only way.
How long is that, Ralph?
it's 15.5 inches.
How long?
15.5. And I took an old saw blade, like an old hand saw, and I scored the outside of it so that it had some sort of bark structure to it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can see it very well.
Oh yeah, just drug a saw blade. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I got a
one-
welding brush too.
one
Really.
guy pound nails through the bottom of the board, and then they scratched the wood across the nails.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that works because it gives you that nice kind of V cut that happens instead of being a straight line. And I've got a welding brush that's, I mean, it's incredibly stiff. You know, it's like, you know, 16 or 18, probably 16 gauge wires, or 14 gauge wires. They're incredibly stiff. That works pretty well too, but it, you know, and it gives you the less than perfectly straight lines that happen. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stu said that tree that he has, where'd he go? Oh, the evergreen that he has at his house is 3.5 times the height of his 3-story old house.
Wow.
3.5 times the size of a 40-foot tall.
90.
That's, yeah, it's 100 and something foot. That's, you know, that's realistic. Like, you know, people say my 15-inch trees are not realistic, but that's exactly what they should be.
120 foot.
Yeah, my spruce in my front yard's about twice the height of my house. So that's you know, 40, that's about 60, 70 feet.
Yeah. That in scale, I mean, those trees that you've been doing here recently, those, you know, and they're reasonably tall trees in scale. It's amazing. Yeah. You know, it's entirely, if you're an in scale or an HO scale, doing scale trees is realistically very little selective compression scale trees entirely possible. In O scale, that really starts to become impractical. Just because of material. What do you build a I mean, if your normal trees need to be 2.5 foot tall, if an oak tree needs to be 2.5 foot tall, and it's nearly that wide too,
Yeah.
what do you make that out of? It's not sagebrush pieces. It's an entire tumbleweed.
Mm-hmm.
I got the answer to that question. Get a bigger broom handle. I mean, that big of a broom handle.
Now you just get a bunch
And just
of
whittle it.
balsa blocks, one by ones, and glue them together and carve them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And when you're using balsa or basswood, you talked about a welding file or a welding brush.
Yep.
That's what they call a card file.
Oh yeah.
It's meant for cleaning your files.
Mm-hmm.
The brushes are the bristles are a 1/4 inch long.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from? Is it just order one, I suppose, I guess?
Yeah,
You
order
can
it.
probably get it Harbor Freight or something like that.
Okay.
And you can also do a pretty good sized tree in the old TT scale, the old tabletop.
Yeah, you just can't get anything for it. I'll tell you what, I've got some TT scale. I want to do a little bit of force perspective. Now, I'm a believer in force perspective is awesome. It's a great effect when it's done well. Like Ralph did it in an area on his layout. I think it looks great, especially the road bridge, but he's actually got it done in a few spots in his layout, and it really does look good. But force perspective is one of those things that's like, I've compared it to B-rate sci-fi. You know, I'm a geek, so sci-fi is great. Bad sci-fi is awful. So I think force perspective is awful, if not done pretty well. And I think in scale is fine at a distance when you have some space between stuff that's modeled or structures and cars and stuff, and then you have a big space where there's nothing or just trees. No problem. But I wanted to do it in my city and I wanted to bring the road up a little bit, keep the top of the building flat, so it made it look like, and narrow the road and everything. I got some fire hydrants off of Shapeways. They were Ed's design actually, and but they're TT scale. But I'm having a really hard time, and I'm going to do paper structures, so that wood side of the structure I'm going to print them, of course, and wood side of the structure will be, at the beginning of the edge will be HO scale. The next one back will be 5 or 6%, shrunk down, so it'll be slightly angular, trapezoidal, and then the next structure will start at that 5 or 6% down and shrink 5 or 6 more, and then between the spaces and fire hydrants, I go from an HO scale fire hydrant to a TT. But I can't find any vehicles, so I just need a couple street vehicles. I can't find anything in TT scale that is appropriate for my area. And I'm not that picky. Just anything, I just need a couple cars to set back on the roadside. They're hard to come by.
That one guy that's on Ken Patterson's that he does all those 1960 or 70 era trucks.
Yeah,
cars.
The guy from Germany.
Yeah, yeah. I think one time they were talking about taking an HO car and taking just a little bit off,
shrinking
all 4 sides,
mold process,
shrinking it. Yeah, and you could successfully cause.
They were shrinking an 164 die-cast car down to HO.
Yeah, by the molding process, by changing the chemical part of the mold.
But that was the same guy that was doing some of the RC stuff.
Yeah.
But the typical guy that's on there that does a lot of the car modeling isn't it Barry or something like that? His name is, I believe. I forget. But yeah.
That the other guy was doing that molding where they would mold it in whatever material, and they would take it out and do to the chemical mixture. It would shrink, and it always shrinks a little bit, but they were manipulating the chemical composition so it would shrink a predictable amount. Which is, they've got that molding. There's been some people molding plastic for so many years. They've mastered the science, the chemistry of that. And maybe that's possible where you can do that in TT scale, but it's one of those things I'd have to do a lot of experimentation. But
I would, I have 1,000 ideas, but I would like to see if those kits for the HO would work on a 150 scale die cast model. If you could do it in HO, you should be able to do it in an upper scale.
You're talking about 3D printing, for example?
No, I'm talking about taking a die cast model that you could buy off the shelf.
Yeah.
And putting the RC unit that they're using into it.
Oh yeah, that's easy. Remind me after when we're at a regular hangout. I've got some of those links that they talked about. Actually, just watch kids do this anyway. But I've got a few of those.
I tried
I built my road system, so
yeah.
that I could go back and do a car system like the Faller system. But of course, I'm going to build it.
All right, hang on, Ron. You can put the link in, but just don't do the www or the HTTP, and when it says .com, just spell out .dot. You can put the link in that way.
No.
Jerry also said, didn't he also do a series of auto racks with the vehicles?
Yeah, that's the same guy I'm talking about.
Including wrecked ones, where he molded them in aluminum foil. And, I mean, that guy is just incredible.
He's a model railroader, but he's also a car guy too.
Big time. Yeah. That's what he likes to model, is auto racks. And Mike Buddy is the guy that's...
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. And he does some absolutely incredible work. My ear is a little tougher, but I just haven't found TT scale cars in 3D printing. I only need a couple. If I have to pay a decent price for them, so what? It's a couple cars.
All right. Now, I have a question. I'm looking for a modern day... the trams that they used to use in the coal mines. They put the crews in. They're covered. They're more of a modern day, and they used to take them down into the mine. Has anybody ever seen them like an HO scale or anything?
Yes, I gotta find. Okay, so let's see. Alexander Scale Model makes some of them that would still be in use that are reasonably, but they're not the newest ones that you see shipped around. But my instinct is that if you Google it or look at that on Shapeways, I'd have a hard time thinking somebody hasn't drawn that up.
You just is H.O. Alexander Scale Models, is their website Valley Model Trains?
I don't know, man. Actually, I don't think Alexander Scale Trains is still in business. That
Okay.
I bought some of their parts off from distributors on eBay and stuff, and they make it's a kit, a white metal and plastics kit that you can get the parts for, and they're pretty close to. They're pretty close to accurate. Some people have went back and actually, build them out so they'll run on Z-scale tracks.
All right,
The only other
Ron stuck put a link up here. Guess it's about what y'all talking about. I had to step out. It's called all-model-railroading.co.uk/AMR/. Yeah, Ron, I meant when I said dot, you just put that where the .com goes.
Then it actually comes up as a link.
Yeah. I was actually going to say you could try and look on the Shapeways, see if anybody has managed to do some mining equipment yet.
Yeah, I really don't care if it doesn't run or not.
Yeah.
What? It'd be pretty cool if it did, but
It wouldn't be very hard to put like a Z-scale motor into it.
But you can get the motors. The biggest problem, like with the RC cars or the very small stuff like the HON 18, or which is kind of in line with the NN 3 stuff. The problem is not the motor. That's fairly trivial. It's the gearing. So getting it to a realistic speed, like the Faller cars by default look pretty good and they've got better, but they're just zipping around like, everybody driving the road is, as a 16-year-old kid just flying everywhere. And I want a much slower effect. And so building them not only is a lot cheaper, probably the only practical way I can pull it off, but that you can make them look a whole lot better. And just darting around and, it's got to look better. Or another thing, just like the in-scale buildings in the background, forced perspective effect. If the cars look awful, robotic, zipping, darting around, driving too fast, it's better to just, put them at stop signs. And, it has to be a good effect.
Well, y'all got anything? Last words? We're going to wind this thing up.
Sounds like last rites.
I know.
Last
comments. With that. Last words. You got any last words? Yeah. What do you want for your last meal? That's what I've got.
Yeah.
And what do you want for your last meal?
Well, if anybody's going to be out there at the train show tomorrow or this weekend, say hello to me. It'll be easy to find because it's not that big of a place. So I'll be
take a bunch of pictures for us, Bob.
Yeah, I was going to say, keep us up on it.
I'll take about 30 frames per second. How about that?
A lot of video.
For your video last year, I went back and watched a couple times as we've talked about the scale trades, the big blow, when you shot that video of the 155 car or whatever, something like that.
It was pretty long.
Live vicariously through you, brother.
Yeah. Well, I'll take pictures. I'm going to take a lot of still pictures, I think, this time. And do a lot more interviews and so forth, if I can. So, we'll see.
Sounds like you may have the time.
I could be all done in the first day. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess we're going to wind this one up. Stu said, great discussion, people. I'm gone. So I guess we'll go too. Stu's not going to hang around. AJ's itching to fire a truck up and head back home anyway.
And Ron, I will keep after Andy. I'll make sure that he gets all the rivets in those trees.
Somebody's got to, right, Ralph?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look how much
Hopefully
time we
next-
fretted about the knot that I had to tie to make the tire swing. I mean, I fretted a lot about how to make that look right. I looked at pictures of tire swings to figure out. I mean, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Or Martin, buddy from down under, you know, he says there's nothing like excess but excess.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we're going to wind this one on up. All right. Go to YouTubeMallBuilders.com. There you can check the schedules for the Tuesday and Wednesday shows. Those shows are at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Thursday and the Saturday once a month live show with Big Bill and Barry. Those two shows are still at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And also be sure and click on the eMag and sign up for an email notification when it comes out. That's every other month. JD and his team do a great job on putting out a really good magazine, really good content. Just had one come out just a tad over a week ago, and they did another fantastic job on that one. And also, let's see, next week on the calendar, August the 8th, that's a Tuesday, next Tuesday. That's going to be Miles Hale doing a tour and an update on his layout. Some of those building flats he's been making. Now I'm sure he'll explain how he's been doing that. It's rather interesting. He's found a type of material to print it out on that's working out really well for him, especially if you're doing the brickwork and all. So you want to be sure and tune in for that show too. That'll be next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So with that said, I appreciate everybody coming in tonight on the chat. Appreciate all you guys coming in on the panel here. If you do have a webcam, you're interested in getting in on the panel, we post the link at the bottom of the post on the community page. Just click on the link, it'll bring you right on in. We only have room for 7 people, but if somebody wants to get in, let me know. We can always boot somebody out. Maybe the ones with a big crown on the corner there.
Yellow candy.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, y'all have a good weekend, and we shall see you next Tuesday. Good night, everybody.
Night, John.